Savine Sangha, better known as the Ketamine Queen, pled guilty to selling Matthew Perry the that ultimately ended his life.
We believe that a full and evidentiary hearing will reveal exactly what was going on and will give the judge the complete background to do what we think is fair and just in this case.
Your disease is just outside, just doing one-arm push-ups, just waiting for you, waiting to get you alone. Because alone, you lose.
Matthew Perry's death wasn't just tragic, it was planned.
Secrets people like me.
October 28th, 2023. Matthew Perry was found face down in his hot tub, dead at 54. The same hot tub he'd posted about just 5 days earlier, asking if warm water made you feel good. But Perry didn't die from addiction. He died from a network of people who turned his desperation into profit. Doctors who gave him a cruel nickname. A dealer called the Ketamine Queen who before. An assistant who became his executioner. What happened to Matthew Perry wasn't an overdose. It was a systematic execution disguised as treatment. So let's get into it. Matthew Perry never hid his struggles. By 2022, his battle with addiction had become his life's mission. His memoir detailed 30 years of fighting out prescription pills, surviving 14 surgeries, and spending half his adult life in treatment centers.
And I thought to myself, this must be the way that normal people feel all the time. And I thought that at 14.
That first drink at 14 had rewired his brain permanently. By 18, he was drinking daily. Even at the height of Friends' success, Perry was showing up to set blindly hungover, shaking and crazy hungover. The pattern was established: intense fear and self-doubt, followed by chemical relief, followed by more fear. The prescription pill addiction began during a movie shoot when he injured himself on a jet ski. The Vicodin, he wrote, was like warm honey entering his veins. Within days, 40 more pills had been delivered to his house. The trap was set. What made Perry particularly vulnerable wasn't just his addiction. It was his wealth, fame, and desperation for privacy. He couldn't walk into a regular doctor's office without creating headlines. He couldn't check into most rehab facilities without paparazzi camping outside. This isolation forced him into the shadows, where predators wait for exactly this type of prey. By the time Perry wrote his memoir, he understood the danger perfectly. He'd survived taking 55 Vicodin daily. He'd broken into strangers' homes during open houses to steal pills from their medicine cabinets. He'd nearly died when his colon exploded from opioid damage, spending 5 months in the hospital on life support. But Perry's public honesty about addiction made him a magnet for dealers who specialized in high-profile clients. His memoir wasn't just a cry for help, it was inadvertently an advertisement to anyone willing to exploit a celebrity's desperation. The ketamine therapy Perry was receiving for depression was legitimate medical treatment, but legitimate medicine has limits, oversight, and safety protocols. When those protocols said no to higher doses, Perry's addiction demanded yes. That demand created a market, and markets always find suppliers. Dr. Salvador Plasencia saw opportunity in Perry's desperation. Text messages show Plasencia asking a colleague, "I wonder how much this moron will pay," followed by, "Let's find out." This wasn't medicine. This was predatory capitalism disguised as healthcare. When Plasencia's supply wasn't enough, the network expanded to include Eric Fleming and ultimately Savine Sangha, the Ketamine Queen. Each link in the chain knew they were dealing with Matthew Perry specifically, not some anonymous client. They knew his history, his wealth, and his vulnerability. The system that should have protected Perry, medical oversight, prescription monitoring, addiction support networks, had been systematically circumvented by people who saw his desperation as a business opportunity. Perry had spent years learning to ask for help. The tragedy is that when he asked, the wrong people answered. Savine Sangha didn't accidentally become the Ketamine Queen. Court documents reveal a sophisticated operation that had been targeting celebrities and high-net-worth clients for years. Her North Hollywood home wasn't just a residence. It was a stash house containing 79 vials of ketamine, 3 pounds of methamphetamine, and hallucinogenic mushrooms. The business model was simple: identify wealthy clients with addiction issues, provide high-quality drugs, and charge premium prices while maintaining the illusion of safety and discretion. Sangha marketed herself as someone who only deals with high-end celebs, promising quality that justified the astronomical prices. When Eric Fleming contacted Sangha about supplying Matthew Perry, she immediately understood the opportunity. Her response wasn't just about selling. It was about cultivating a high-value client. She offered free samples, bonus ketamine lollipops for large orders, and assured Fleming that her supplier was a master chef and scientist. The pricing structure revealed how deliberate the targeting was. 25 vials of ketamine cost $6,000, roughly $240 per vial. Street ketamine typically sells for $20 to $30 per dose. Sangha was charging celebrity prices for what she knew was a captive market. But Sangha's operation had a fatal flaw that should have prevented Perry's death. She knew exactly how dangerous her product was. In 2019, she had sold ketamine to Cody McClory, who died from an overdose. McClory's family member texted her directly, "The ketamine you sold my brother killed him. It's listed as the cause of death." Instead of stopping her ketamine sales, Sangha made a Google search that revealed her callous calculation. Can ketamine be listed as a cause of death? She wasn't researching the safety, she was researching legal liability. The search proved she understood the lethal potential of her product and continued selling anyway. When Matthew Perry entered her client network in October 2023, Sangha had years of experience calibrating her business to maximize profit while minimizing legal exposure. She used encrypted messaging apps, employed code words like doctor, pepper cans, and bots for ketamine, and maintained careful distance from the actual administration of. The 51 vials delivered to Perry in his final month weren't random amounts. Court documents show Sangha carefully managing supply to maintain dependency while avoiding the appearance of a single large transaction that might trigger investigation. The steady flow of smaller shipments created the illusion of controlled use while actually enabling escalating addiction. Sangha's social media revealed how profitable this business model was. Photos showed luxury vacations in Mexico and Tokyo, designer clothing, beachfront properties, and sound healing sessions that included post-party IV drips. She was literally posting evidence of living lavishly from the proceeds of addiction sales. The most chilling aspect of Sangha's operation was its systematic nature. This wasn't a desperate dealer making impulsive sales. Text messages show her asking Fleming, "Please let me know if you think there will be another round. I'll have to know ahead of time." She was planning Perry's continued addiction like a subscription service. When Perry died on October 28, 2023, Sangha's first instinct wasn't grief or shock, it was self-preservation. She immediately contacted Fleming through encrypted messaging with instructions to delete all our messages. She understood exactly what had happened and moved quickly to destroy evidence. The Ketamine Queen's business model worked precisely because people like Matthew Perry existed. Wealthy, desperate, isolated individuals whose addiction made them perfect customers. Sangha didn't create Perry's addiction, but she turned it into a revenue stream with complete disregard for human life. Kenneth Iwamasa wasn't hired to Matthew Perry. He was hired to help manage Perry's daily life, handle logistics, and provide the kind of personal assistance that celebrities require. But addiction has a way of corrupting every relationship it touches, turning helpers into enablers and eventually into instruments of destruction. Court documents reveal that Iwamasa became far more than Perry's assistant. He became his administrator, injection specialist, and ultimately his unwitting executioner. Federal prosecutors charged him with conspiracy to distribute ketamine, causing death, because his role went far beyond simply acquiring. The progression was gradual and probably felt logical at each step. Perry needed ketamine for legitimate medical treatment. When medical professionals wouldn't provide the doses Perry wanted, alternative sources were found. When those sources provided raw ketamine instead of medical-grade solutions, someone needed to prepare and administer it. Iwamasa became that someone. The day Perry died, Iwamasa injected him with ketamine at least 3 times. The first injection was at 8:30 a.m. The second was at 12:45 p.m. The third injection, the fatal one, occurred sometime before 2 p.m. when Perry asked to be prepared for his hot tub session. Iwamasa administered the injection and left Perry alone. What makes Iwamasa's role particularly tragic is that he was probably the person best positioned to save Perry's life. As his live-in assistant, Iwamasa saw Perry's daily condition, understood his patterns, and witnessed the escalation of his ketamine use. He knew better than anyone when Perry was in danger, but Iwamasa was also trapped in the impossible position of working for someone whose addiction was his primary relationship with reality. Saying no to Perry's requests might have cost Iwamasa his job, his income, and his relationship with someone he likely cared about. The power dynamic made resistance nearly impossible. The medical examiner found ketamine levels in Perry's blood equivalent to what's used for general anesthesia. This wasn't recreational use. This was a massive overdose that should have been obviously dangerous to anyone administering it. But addiction creates a tolerance that makes dangerous doses feel necessary and normal doses feel insufficient. Iwamasa's guilty plea revealed the scope of his involvement. Over the weeks leading to Perry's death, he had administered countless injections, managed supplies, coordinated with dealers, and essentially become Perry's personal pharmaceutical support system. Each injection required preparation, dosage calculation, and administration. Medical procedures he wasn't qualified to perform. The relationship between Perry and Iwamasa had become a closed loop of mutual dependence. Perry needed someone willing to inject him with dangerous quantities of ketamine. Iwamasa needed the income and probably convinced himself he was helping rather than harming. Neither man could see that they were both trapped in a system that would inevitably result in death. When Perry asked for that final injection before getting in the hot tub, Iwamasa had injected him twice already that day. Any medical professional would have recognized the danger of a third dose. But Iwamasa wasn't a medical professional. He was an employee whose job had slowly transformed into assisted suicide.
And you know, what I got to do was I got to go face some of these things and then come back and finish the work.
Perry had spent his life learning to face his addiction and asking for help from qualified professionals. But in his final months, his support system consisted of dealers, complicit doctors, and an assistant who had become his administrator. Every person who should have said no instead said yes until yes became fatal. The most damning evidence in Matthew Perry's death isn't what dealers did. It's what medical doctors did. Dr. Salvador Plasencia and Dr. Mark Chavez took oaths to, first, do no harm, yet text messages reveal they viewed Perry's addiction as a business opportunity, not a medical condition requiring treatment. When Dr. Plasencia first contacted Dr. Chavez about supplying Perry with ketamine, his message wasn't about therapeutic benefit or medical necessity. It was purely transactional. I wonder how much this moron will pay. The follow-up was even more explicit. Let's find out. These weren't doctors discussing a patient's medical needs. These were businessmen calculating profit potential from someone they clearly viewed as mentally impaired by addiction. The term moron wasn't casual insult. It revealed their complete contempt for Perry's judgment and humanity. Dr. Plasencia's subsequent text messages show a man who understood exactly what he was enabling. If today goes well, we may have repeat business. He wasn't hoping Perry would recover from depression through ketamine therapy. He was hoping Perry's addiction would create ongoing revenue. The medical timeline reveals how quickly legitimate treatment transformed into exploitation. Perry had been receiving proper ketamine infusion therapy for depression and anxiety through qualified medical channels. But when those doctors refused to increase his dosage beyond safe levels, Perry's addiction demanded alternatives. Instead of referring Perry to addiction specialists or mental health professionals, Dr. Plasencia saw market opportunity. He began supplying ketamine directly to Perry's assistant, bypassing all medical oversight, patient monitoring, and safety protocols that legitimate ketamine therapy requires. Dr. Mark Chavez's role was equally corrupt. As a licensed physician, he had access to medical-grade ketamine that he diverted to Dr. Plasencia through fraudulent prescriptions. This wasn't accidental misprescribing. This was deliberate pharmaceutical trafficking using medical credentials as cover. The quantity of ketamine these doctors helped supply reveals the scope of their negligence. 51 vials in Perry's final month represented hundreds of doses, enough ketamine to supply multiple patients for legitimate medical treatment. No responsible physician would authorize such quantities for any patient, particularly one with a documented history of addiction. What makes their behavior particularly egregious is that both doctors understood addiction medicine. Perry's struggles were public knowledge. His memoir detailed decades of prescription drug abuse. Any competent physician treating Perry would have recognized the extraordinary risk of providing unsupervised access to a potentially addictive substance. The October 12th incident should have ended their involvement permanently. When Perry received a massive ketamine injection that caused a dangerous blood pressure spike, any ethical doctor would have immediately ceased treatment and referred Perry to emergency addiction services. Instead, Dr. Plasencia continued supplying. On October 25th, just 3 days before Perry's death, Dr. Plasencia was still coordinating ketamine deliveries. He knew Perry's addiction was spiraling out of control. Prosecutors have his own messages saying exactly that. Yet he continued feeding the addiction that was his patient. The transformation of these doctors from healers to dealers represents a complete moral collapse. They possessed medical knowledge, legal authority, and professional obligation to protect Perry's health. Instead, they exploited his vulnerability for profit while hiding behind their credentials. Perry had survived 14 surgeries, multiple overdoses, and decades of addiction, specifically because he'd learned to trust medical professionals. The doctors who betrayed that trust didn't just enable his death, they weaponized the very relationship that had previously saved his life. When Matthew Perry died, he wasn't by street or amateur dealers. He was by licensed physicians who forgot that their patients are human beings, not revenue streams. October 28, 2023, started like many others in Matthew Perry's final weeks. Kenneth Iwamasa prepared the first ketamine injection at 8:30 a.m., part of what had become a routine administration schedule that was steadily increasing in frequency and dosage. Perry's tolerance had grown so extreme that doses equivalent to general anesthesia barely affected him. By 12:45 p.m., Iwamasa administered the second injection of the day. Perry was functional, alert, and going about his normal activities. Nothing about this injection appeared different from the dozens that had preceded it in recent weeks. The system that was Perry was operating exactly as designed. Around 1:30 p.m., Perry decided he wanted to use his hot tub. This wasn't unusual. The heated pool area was one of his favorite relaxation spaces. But Perry's request for another ketamine injection before entering the water created the perfect conditions for accidental death. Iwamasa prepared the third injection of the day, administered it to Perry, and left him alone. This decision, repeated countless times before, would finally prove fatal. Perry entered the hot tub with ketamine levels in his bloodstream that should have required immediate medical supervision. The combination was deadly. Ketamine's anesthetic properties suppress breathing and consciousness, while hot water increases drug absorption and accelerates cardiovascular effects. Perry likely lost consciousness within minutes and slipped underwater without any chance of recovery. What makes these final hours particularly tragic is how many intervention opportunities were missed. At 8:30 a.m., Iwamasa could have recognized that Perry was requesting too early and too frequently. At 12:45 p.m., he could have insisted on medical supervision before another injection. At 1:30 p.m., he could have refused to provide ketamine before hot tub use. Each decision point represented a moment where Matthew Perry's life could have been saved. The pattern of escalation had been building for weeks. More frequent injections, higher doses, increasingly risky circumstances. Someone with basic drug safety knowledge would have recognized the warning signs. Dr. Plasencia had been warned explicitly that Perry's addiction was spiraling out of control, yet he continued providing supply just days before the fatal overdose. Jasveen Sangha knew her ketamine had Cody McClory in 2019, yet she continued selling to Perry without any safety precautions. Eric Fleming served as middleman between a dealer he knew was dangerous and a client he knew was vulnerable. The encrypted signal messages between Sangha and Fleming after Perry's death revealed their immediate understanding of culpability. Delete all our messages wasn't the reaction of people surprised by a tragic accident. It was the calculated response of people who knew their actions had caused a preventable death.
Your disease is just outside, just doing one-arm push-ups, just waiting for you, waiting to get you alone. Because alone, you lose.
Perry had spent his final years preaching that addiction could be defeated through community support, professional treatment, and honest acknowledgement of the disease's power. His death resulted from the exact opposite: isolation, amateur treatment, and denial of obvious danger signs. The medical examiner's findings confirmed what everyone involved already knew. Perry died from acute effects of ketamine at levels that were obviously lethal. This wasn't a mysterious medical event or unpredictable reaction. This was the inevitable result of a system designed to feed addiction rather than treat it. Perry's final social media post revealed a man in crisis, sending what fans would later recognize as desperate cries for help. On October 23rd, just 5 days before his death, Perry posted a haunting image of himself sitting alone in his hot tub at night, wearing headphones. The caption read, "Oh, so warm water swirling around makes you feel good? I'm Mattman." The same day, he posted a video of someone's hand, presumably his, placing 3 grapes on a table. The caption was chilling. "This is what I've had to eat today. I'm Mattman. 3 grapes." That was his entire food intake for the day, documented and shared with his 9 million followers. Other posts that week included cryptic messages. "Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm Mattman," alongside a video of clouds passing over the moon. Many recognized these weren't normal posts. They were distress signals from someone drowning in plain sight. The Mattman references weren't just random Batman obsession. According to People magazine, Perry was writing a script project called Mattman, perhaps his attempt to create something meaningful while battling the ketamine addiction that was consuming him. But the post revealed a man who wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping normally, and was spending his final days alone in the same hot tub where he would die. Matthew Perry's death was avoidable at every single stage. The dealers could have refused to sell to someone with known addiction issues. The doctors could have prioritized patient safety over profit. The assistant could have sought medical help instead of administering dangerous. The system could have protected a vulnerable man instead of exploiting him. Instead, each person in the network made the choice that prioritized their own interests over Perry's life. Their guilty pleas aren't just admissions of legal responsibility, they're confessions that they knew their actions were wrong and chose to continue anyway. Perry spent decades fighting addiction and teaching others that recovery was possible. His death proves that addiction isn't just a personal battle, it's a systemic failure that requires systemic solutions. The people who failed Matthew Perry didn't just kill a beloved actor. They betrayed everything he worked to build in his final years. Hope that people struggling with addiction could find help instead of exploitation. The Ketamine Queen faces 65 years in prison, but no sentence can restore the life that was stolen by a system that turned Matthew Perry's desperation into profit. His death wasn't just tragic, it was completely, utterly, shamefully avoidable. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.